My name is Robert Littlefield, and I work at North Dakota State University. I am a professor of communication here. I am 61 years old, and I started my first activity when I was probably 13. So that's how much of my life has been involved in forensics. And I have really never been away from it, no matter how I've steered the car away from it, no matter how it just keeps turning back onto the road. Forensics is like that siren song, you know, you can't ever get away from it no matter how you try. I was an active high school debater all of my high school career. I debated policy debate, I did public speaking, the oratory event. I went to the National Forensic League national tournament in oratory. I was a pretty high point leader at the time in the National Forensic League. So I went to college at Minnesota State University Moorhead, and I was very active there, and that's when I joined Pi Kappa. They showed an aptitude for forensics, and the school that they were going to didn't have a forensics coach. So I started volunteering when my daughter was in the 6th grade and started a little after-school forensics group. And suddenly I had like 40 kids, and when my daughter was old enough to go to high school, the high school coach had left the school, so they asked me if I would do that. So I started coaching there at Shanley High School in Fargo. And from 1995 to 2003, when my son graduated, we won 8 consecutive NFL district awards for leading school, and I sent 65 entries to the national tournament over that time period, and both my children were national point leaders in the NFL when they were respectively their senior year. I wanted to be a teacher since I was little. I had 18 cousins on my mom's side of the family. My grandma had a old chicken coop out behind her house that she converted into a school. She had little desks in it and a blackboard with chalk, and I was the middle cousin, and the best way for the adults to have their kids maintained was to give me the chalk, take all my little cousins, and have school. Well, I mean, there were a number of changes, but I think not many people know about this, but I think one significant thing that happened was the civil rights movement. The dominant dimension of the forensic community did not acknowledge it. There was nothing, very little written about it. And most of the time, there was very little interaction. There were a few incidental colleges that would occasionally have an interaction between a traditionally white college and a historically black college, but it was rare. So what happened was that eventually people acknowledged and understood that there was a whole additional group here, and that's something that I had no knowledge about, because as a member of an organization that actually didn't allow African Americans to become members by Constitution for many years, I mean, I'm embarrassed by that. When I started coaching at Barnesville, and I'll never forget, Scott Staskus was sitting in the back of the room, a little 8th grade boy, quiet. He had wire rim glasses, just about the quietest person in the whole world. But it didn't take me long to find out that he was like the smartest person in the whole world, and clearly in his grade. And I said, Scott, you should do this because it will give you a voice that you should have, because you're really smart, but you don't, you're quiet. He was just named the Superintendent of the Year in Minnesota. It makes a difference. It clearly makes a difference.